The following is a presentation of the Neuropod podcast and is not an event that emerges from the ASET nominating or policies and procedures committees. Any candidate's failure to participate should not in any way influence your opinion or choice in this election. Welcome to the Neuropod, the podcast for neurodiagnostic professionals. Our mission is to provide you with information that can help you provide the best care for your patients. Knowledge is power, and more knowledge can lead to better patient outcomes. Joining me are the candidates for President-elect of ASET, the Neurodiagnostic Society. The election is on now through May 31st, so if you are a member and you have not voted, please log in and go to www.aset.org/Board of Trustees candidates with a hyphen between each one of those words. There you can review each nominee's resume and cast your vote for the candidate whom you believe can best lead our society. Our guests are appearing in alphabetical order, so first up is Mary Betinis of University of California, San Francisco. Hi, Mary. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Jason. Thank you for having me.
I think our goal for today would be to highlight some of the things that people should think about when they cast their ballot for the president-elect.
Absolutely agree. And I appreciate the opportunity just to share my journey in my career thus far. I actually started out, as I said, a child prodigy. I started out when I was 18, way back when in I think it was 84, going through a program at University of Madison, Wisconsin. And it was an accredited seated program at the time.
Okay.
And it was probably one of my hardest but best experiences by far to create a good foundation for me in this field.
Yeah, I think in the pre-show you were telling me that it was like 2 years of hands-on experience and all the underlying science behind it, all crammed into what short time?
13 months. It was the last year of their accredited program, and they took 2 years and consolidated into 13 months. And it was learn it as you go. I mean, you had no time. It was intense, wow. But it was great. And our students that we had at the time, I think I was one of 6 and only half of us passed.
Oh, wow.
So it was pretty intense, intense.
So you started off your career at UW through the training program. Where'd you go from there?
Sure. I was fortunate enough to go to Rush Presbyterian St. Luke's Medical Center in Chicago. I started out as one of their technologists and worked my way up in that time frame, and was fortunate to work with a lot of amazing physicians and just even the mentors of the lead techs that were there to help me grow. And eventually over time there, I became the lead tech, especially over their EMU.
Wow.
And which was great.
With videotapes, I bet, right?
So it's amazing. So we were 24/7, techs actually in the room with a VHS tripod at the end of the bed.
Yeah.
Right. So the camera's there, and then you have
synchronized
the stack.
To a clock.
Synchronized to a clock. Yes. And you had analog, right? So you had to make sure that I think at the time we had grass, we had a beehive, and we had a telefactor. We had Siemens, Neon Codon. You think of trying to sync all of these together. It's nothing like the digital world now. But it showed that technologists, their knowledge base, they had to be spot on at that time frame because you're working within seconds to annotate, to make sure your EEG machine doesn't run out of ink or paper, that you're changing your tapes. You're documenting when someone has a seizure. You're actually in the room testing a patient during a seizure. So there was just so many great things about it when I think about, when I look back on it now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I
just want to comment real quick. Rush Presby, it's sewing equipment. That was a premier site where everyone was dying to get in. I mean, it was a huge leading edge academic site. What a great place to start.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. Yeah. Was a great place, still is a great place. And even people that I was fortunate enough to mentor are still there leading, which is great. So very, very happy about that. Awesome. But I really, got a feel for what it's like to work every shift, work double shifts, work night shift, day shift, while managing and leading a team. And then, looking at things operationally, which I think was a great foundation for me when I actually took on a job at UC San Diego. And that was about 8 years later. A mentor of mine at UC San Diego reached out and said she was retiring, and if I wanted to come to San Diego, there would be an opportunity. So I went to UC San Diego. I was there for about 20 years. In that capacity of being a lead technologist and actually a supervisor management role. We did a lot of implementation and from an operational standpoint of just setting up EMUs, moving EMUs, expanding, growing our ND techs in their professional journey, which was absolutely amazing. And again, being involved with the clinical and research aspect, because it is an academia or academic environment. Universities are just a wonderful experience because as a technologist, you get to see things that you wouldn't normally see in a private sector or in a rural sector, right? Things that are pretty rare, you may only see once in a career. But I cherish the experience that I've had thus far because I truly feel everything that I've learned or been exposed to. My experience has molded me and given me insight and knowledge to help support me in the roles that I'm in currently.
Yeah. I'm going to just to build on your point about the academia centers, the academic centers. It's quite a privilege to grow up in your training and your experience and academic exposure in that kind of environment because a lot of places just don't have. Let's just call it a library for the techs and just right. a room where they can go and pull some resources or even a mentor to fall back on. So to grow up in the industry in that environment, that's kudos to you. What a privilege. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's a great point. When you think about technologists, they have exposure. They have a lot of things at their fingertips, but it's having engagement with your physicians and your clinicians and building that rapport, that collaboration and support. I've been very fortunate, I feel, in much gratitude to the fact that most of my mentors have been physicians to help guide, train, teach along the way, and willing to share and willing to have conversations about, certain patterns that are seen. And if you disagree, right, why is that? Because there's so much to learn and so much to see within our field, which is amazing.
Yeah, and I know in Cherie's consulting work, she will very strongly recommend, and it's so surprising how few get this privilege also, is to sit down once a week with the physicians and go through do a reading with them, see what they're looking for, have a conversation about what they're seeing.
Yeah, it's a great point. We established that at UC San Diego, and we also did this at UCSF. So I came up to UCSF 10 years ago.
Okay.
So I have 30 years within the UC system. So keeping continuity within the UC or University of California system, which is amazing in itself.
You mean that's not University of Cincinnati?
No, sorry, Jason. Sorry. No. One of the things that we really looked at is internal education for our technologists and what that would look like, right? Because I know what it's like to be on the front lines. If you're not able to have that education and knowledge base and support or advocacy, if you will, on a day-to-day basis with your lead tech supervisors and or clinicians, where are you going to get it? So our epilepsy faculty has been wonderful. We have a lunch and learn every month.
Nice.
We have record reviews every week for peds and for adults. And it's all because we have a faculty that really understands and appreciates what we do, and that it goes both ways.
Yeah.
And to have that type of engagement is amazing I want all centers to have this type of support internally, because it really then helps support one's career growth, their journey to learn more and feel like they have the support. So that was one of the priorities.
Yeah.
And making sure that our internal techs are appreciated, empowered for the value they bring to the table. I
Sure.
know what it's like to work the night shift. It's hard. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. It's like, someone please have a seizure to keep me awake. So, it's
Yeah.
like those kind of things. You don't want it to be monotonous, but then there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And I have a great appreciation for my teams that work the night shift, especially, I mean, them all in general, but especially the night shift. They have to work independently. They don't have, or they have support of a smaller team. They don't have the luxury like our day shift techs, right? Because majority of people are working Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
And these, techs are working night shift and weekends. So
Yeah. Well, good luck getting the docs to come in and do that hour read weekly after hours.
mhm. Yeah, well, we're fortunate we're 24/7. And so our physicians, the minute if a tech calls in the middle of the night, they're tapping right in and looking at it and providing
Right.
that support.
Right.
But that's
But
building a
that's
system.
UCSF.
Yeah,
That's
true.
not out in the suburbs of Cincinnati,
Absolutely
Ohio.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that it brings up a good point, Jason. That is something that we should be looking at as a community, as an asset society, of what we're doing to support our members, what
Yeah.
we're doing to support all of our great techs out there who are doing the work, regardless of what modalities they are. It's what falls under our ND umbrella,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
How do we know we're doing well? How do we know we're serving them in a way that is meaningful and valuable and helping them in their day-to-day life,
Yeah.
their day-to-day scope of work?
Yeah. Well, if you can figure it out, you got my vote. I'm sorry to say that and be apolitical, but
But
it really is. My point is, it is a privilege with what you have and where you grew up in this industry is it's something that it's there's no way to define it other than a privilege. And
yeah, it is a privilege.
there's so few people. I guarantee 75% of our listeners are listening going, oh, if I only wish, that I had
Mhm,
docs that will sit down once a week with
mhm,
me and read and go through
mhm.
this and then, sit in or be a guest at a journal club for a bunch of
Right.
residents, they don't have that opportunity.
They don't, but here's an idea. I have many ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and hopefully I will have more of an opportunity if I'm voted in as president-elect. I look at it as COVID gave us a silver lining. We have Zoom options now.
Mm-hmm.
So we can reach those in rural areas or who are techs, my hat's off to them. They're a one-man show, so to speak, or one-woman show,
Mm-hmm.
right? We can invite them into a lunch and learn. There's more ways from a networking perspective that we can engage more and help support more on a national level, international level, statewide, locally. I mean, there are means to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
And that is something we can definitely build upon.
That's awesome.
Um,
I love the
yeah,
vision. I
and
love the creative spin on and what we actually in the pre-show we talked about what COVID has developed new skills and new ways to approach old problems.
true, very true. The fact is, we needed to be on site all the time to look at an EEG. We'd be calling people in, physicians in to look at an EEG. Networking Citrix has given us the sort of environment now, if you will, that makes it easier for our physicians. We still have a standard of having a text on site 24/7,
Mm-hmm.
but that is what we've built. Understanding there's different models on a national level, but there are ways that through COVID, we identified, became creative, pivoted, so to speak, in new ways to achieve things. And probably streamlined and optimized a few things that we never even thought we were capable of.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
So,
exactly. So we went over some of the employment history, and I don't want to go backwards on you, but I noticed that since 2008 you've been involved in 4 leadership academy type programs or
mhm,
things that you've gone through with. You want to tell me about that and how it developed you?
sure,
Maybe got you ready for this position.
absolutely. For me in my journey, I wanted to be in a place where I can teach, mentor, train, give back. And I felt going the leadership route would definitely give me that insight. Um, I'm always one wanting to learn new skills, and how do I learn something new every day to help me be a better person and a better person to serve. Um, I feel the three different academic centers, universities that I've been involved in, each one has been sort of a step forward towards this direction of leadership. Learning different leadership styles, going through different leadership programs has helped me form my own type of leadership style, and being a more effective leader, if you will. And then really looking at how best to surround yourself in a team where each person, and if my teams are listening, they're going to laugh because I say this all the time, but they each bring something to the table. Everyone has similarities in skill sets and differences. And with those differences, we make up the piece to the puzzle. That is our overarching department. Surrounding yourself with people who may have different skills or better skills than I do, but knowing how to utilize them for the benefit for the majority, right? And in doing that, we become more effective. We become a team that is to be reckoned with, right? We can do a lot of things in moving forward, and we've been successful in doing that. My style is not to be out in front. I'm there to support those. And I'm there as a safety net. I'm there to advocate for them while we're driving change or doing things that are not that easy. And majority of the time we will be successful. There's going to be times where it didn't go the way that we wanted, but what did we learn from that? And what do we need to do differently moving forward? Yeah. But it's so important to have everyone engaged, or at least feel like they have a voice and they're heard. Yeah. I've been fortunate, and I really feel this where I'm at currently. I felt like I arrived in a position where it aligned with my values and my moral compass and where I wanted to be professionally, and allowing me to give back and what I've learned over the years, be able to put into motion to help support initiatives moving forward and the people. We wouldn't be where we are without everyone. It takes a village. And so it's not just one key person, it's everyone that's involved and engaged. Okay. And we're just so multifaceted that I'm just so happy to be a part of it, that I want to be able to still continue and give back. If I feel I get to a point where I've done all I could, then it's time for me to step away and someone else to take the reins. I'm fully aware of that. But I feel I have more to give. And I feel definitely for this president-elect position, I feel I'm at a good point in my career journey thus far of almost 4 decades, right? When you look at that I'm at a point where I feel I can make a difference. Understanding what our community wants, our membership wants. I think that's going to be the biggest thing I'd like to see. We have so many great initiatives, right? Are we doing what's best for majority? Do we want to look at doing something different? It's really getting a temperature gauge or engagement from our membership as a whole, and see what's working well and what we can do differently to support majority of our members. Yeah. I sit over the years, I've been involved in, engaged in, and still I am in task force committees for ASET and ABRAT in various capacities. And you really get an idea, a background of things that go on behind the scenes and what we're trying to do to drive change on a national level, to support encroachment, right, into our ND arena, the collaboration and support, the integrated parts with other societies. When we look at all of that as a whole, are we at the end of the day doing the best for our members? Yeah. From an educational supply, supporting for the knowledge and resources and bases. Do we have a sort of roadmap for them to know sort of their journey of what they want, and where they can fit in? Once you're in this ND arena, you have a job for life in many different capacities. There's so many different avenues to go. Yeah. But who guides them? who supports them. We have ASET doing a phenomenal job, and ABRA and other societies as well, providing content. But I think we could do a little bit more.
Am I reading this right? You've been to every single ASET conference since 1987. Does that mean you are up for an award for the most consecutive or something?
I should be. I should be. I think the only one I may have missed a few trickled throughout that time frame. But I just put it this way: I've been engaged with ASET and ABRET since the early 80s,
Yeah.
like 87.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure of working with ABRET and hosting boards when we actually had techs doing, for their boards to sit. It was seated. It was
Yeah.
the best ever. You get
Yeah.
to see them demonstrate their valuable skills, and from a knowledge perspective, or their reading abilities, their technical skills, just the basic fundamentals of a 1020 hookup or EPs, right? It was so great.
I have some notes in front of me, and I look
Okay.
under professional contributions. And
Mm.
I mean, if I count these out, there's probably 25
I think
bullets.
I forgot the Epilepsy Awareness Day at Disneyland. Yes, but
I
these are
mean,
the things that I like to
Mary, it's a
do.
lot of involvement. You're not afraid to jump in, dig in, and as I heard
No,
you say earlier, push your foot down into the wet concrete, let it set,
yeah,
and become a part of it.
hmm yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I like to be a part of it, and share, and learn, right?
Mm-hmm.
As we go along. There's not always, even though we've been sometimes we have blinders on and think this is the only way to do things. As I stated before, COVID is a great example of, guess what? Blinders come off. There's different ways to do things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I like to be engaged in any of and give back in any way I can, even from an epilepsy standpoint, from an ASET standpoint, statewide, when we had local meetings or national meetings, being engaged in that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But there's things that you go on day to day, that we need people to help support in,
Yeah.
or engagement in. Absolutely.
Yeah. How do you feel about recruiting? What about that person that says, I'd love to, but I don't know if it's for me. How are you going to build the
Yeah,
participation?
it's interesting. So first, I just welcome them to just try it on a trial basis. You don't have to commit. Just, you can try out, whether it be a task force committee or getting involved in something locally or in a state level. Just try it and see. I mean, because you won't know until you do.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's for you, great. Or it may lead you to something that you never even thought of. Um, and if that works for you, great. If not, you tried it and it's not for me, move on to something else.
Right.
There's always, there's a plethora of things.
Committees are one,
That
right?
committees, task force.
Mm-hmm.
There's programs, even if you look at from a statewide, there's societies on a local level. There's American Epilepsy Society, there's ABC. I mean, if you look at anything that falls under neurodiagnostics or neurophysiology or neurology or even neurosurgery or
Mm-hmm.
epilepsy as a whole, you look at everything in every avenue that we fall into, MEG, EMG, like you look at all of this, IOM, there are committees, task force, programs to get involved in. It's just
Yeah.
finding the niche that you feel passionate about,
Right.
right? I mean, I know where my passion lies, but it may not be the same for you or for someone else. Right now, currently, I love what ASET's doing. I want to be a part of it, and I want to continue in my engagement, and with ABRET and any other societies as a whole.
Yep. That's awesome. Okay, Mary. So, you want to just kind of tie this thing up and let me know why you think our listeners should vote for you?
I really feel that I'm in a good position with the experience, the knowledge, and the skill set that I have to date, right? I'm still continuing to learn, that I can integrate that into the current mission, vision, and goals and strategic initiatives that ASET has set forth. And then also bring some new and creative ideas to the table. I think one of the things is really getting a great idea of, are we doing what's best for our members? I would love to survey our membership and just get an idea of how well we're doing. The engagement piece from our members, to sort of be our beacon and making sure that all of the great work and initiatives that are in motion right now are serving our membership to the best of ability. And granted, we know we have a large scope, but for the majority, I think that's one thing that I would like to implement or add to many of the strategic initiatives that we have. And also, we talked a little bit earlier just about the silver lining, right, of
COVID,
being
right?
able to, that, with networking, Zoom capabilities, being able to have outreach to those that are not in positions of large universities or only having one or two techs, and being able to have some guidance, some mentorship, educational opportunities, looking at how we can expand and reach them. And that would be I think it would be so important. So, and then we feel like we have inclusion no matter where you are. If you're rural, local, state, national, and even international, there's a lot of global initiatives going on that are looking to take off. If there's network capabilities, we have the ability to share. We have the ability to educate. We have the ability to train and mentor as well.
You know what, Mary? That's awesome. But at one point, we might not have been recording, but you had mentioned about the C-suite and getting the advocacy of from the leadership in these hospitals. I mean, they don't have to be a 1,000-bed downtown hospital, but a small 300-bed hospital, and having them understand the value of credentialing so that they can give more support to our membership. And I think that was a good point. Do you want to tell us a little more about that?
Sure. I think one of the privileges that I have is being, on one of the committees or task force, which is NAPA. So, we're advocating to send a message out and arming our leaders, if you will, with tools and resources and educational material to share with the C-suite about who we are and what we do. And thinking you only have like a 30-second elevator pitch, right?
So these people with those tools would be advocates for the ASET members in that hospital, that they're talking to their CEO to give them the support that they need to provide better care for that hospital's patients.
Absolutely. Looking at the importance of competency and credentialing, education, as this field continues to evolve, making sure that their skills stay on par and they continue to learn and support even initiatives, or even if they want to grow and take on other services, there's a foundation set up. And making sure that, if they want to become a level 4 epilepsy center, there's criteria to be met. Making sure that they have an arsenal of resources and competency of their team members. And then that'll empower them as well, knowing that they have support from higher up. And then there's a leader who is a conduit, a liaison, to be able to advocate for their team, as well as sharing information with the C-suite on why this would be best suited as a win-win situation. And patient care outcomes. Our patients are going to be, you think about these things from a risk management point of view. You want someone who's skilled and competent to do the work. Yeah,
absolutely. And reputation is everything in this industry. That
EEG
goes everywhere that patient goes.
That's a very good point. So you want to do quality work, because not only is that EEG, quality work for helping your physician to diagnose and treat the patient, right? But then that is going to be part of this patient file that goes anywhere. It can go to, another hospital in another state, and they're going to be looking at that. And you want to make sure your reputation is top notch.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good. Well, Mary, I appreciate your time. I really enjoyed working with you, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the opportunity. I greatly appreciate it.
Good deal. Good luck in the election.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you for tuning in. I'm Jason Meyer for The Neuropod, the podcast for neurodiagnostic professionals.